Part 18. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi-Sing Cao. Chapter 173. It feels so good to be loved like this. Ever since I was reborn last time, I spent less than a day with my parents, Huo Yingja, and we hurriedly said goodbye. In Kijia village, He Tian relied on the sweetness of her memories and her longing for future life to persevere. Now facing her relatives again, the sweetness in He Tian's imagination has become a reality, making He Tian feel that she has always been surrounded by happiness, and all the previous sufferings were worth it. After hearing this, He Tian tilted her head and said with a smile, "It's not hard, I can handle it. Don't think so much, hurry up and eat the noodles. This is what I worked hard to make for you. Eat them all. It's cold now. If you don't eat quickly, the noodles will get cold." Huo Yingja saw He Tian's smile and warm words, and then he was in the mood to continue eating. Maybe it's because the noodles taste so delicious. Maybe Huo Yingja is too hungry. It could also be that He Tian opposite is so pretty. Huo Yingja was satisfied with his meal and was sweating again. The towel on He Tian's hand was useful again, and she used it to wipe Huo Yingja's sweat. "Tianbao, that's great." Huo Yingja smiled and held the hand of the little girl who was holding a towel to wipe his sweat. He Tian smiled shyly and said, "You are also very good. Looking at beauties under the lamp, the more you look at them, the more beautiful they become." Huo Yingja's hand unconsciously touched He Tian's face. Just as their faces were getting closer and closer, he suddenly heard the door ringing and hurriedly separated. Sure enough, Wang Shuping's voice came, "Tian, Yingja, have you eaten yet? Once you've eaten, come back to the house quickly. Don't catch a cold." "Got it, Mom," He Tian agreed, picked up the dishes on the table and washed them. "Brother Yingja, you and Mom can go into the house first, I'll just wash them here." Huo Yingja smiled and said, "Aunt Wang, you go in first, I'll be right over." Wang Shuping came in and said, Tian, you can come over too. I'll wash the dishes." "Mom, no need. Look, I've already started washing. It's just a bowl and a pair of chopsticks." He Tian smiled helplessly and had already washed the dishes while talking. He Tian went to the bathroom again, washed the greasy hands with soap, and applied ointment on them. He Tian went in, made a cup of chrysanthemum tea for Huo Yingja, and then refilled the others' teacups. When Wang Shuping saw that her daughter was as busy as a little bee, she felt happy and distressed at the same time. "Okay, sit down and rest for a while," Zhang Lifang said, pulling He Tian to sit down and look at her handsome son, and then at the cute and charming He Tian. It has to be said that the two of them stood together. A particularly good match. He Tian sat down, lowered his head, and smiled from time to time. Wang Shuping and Zhang Lifang asked Huo Yingja a lot about work. Huo Yingja's job was special, so he couldn't just talk about everything and pick out the unimportant parts. The two housewives listened with great interest. Based on Huo Yingja's description, He Tian imagined Huo Yingja's life in the workplace. Dang dang dang. The table clock on Daxian's desk struck 10 times. Only then did Zhang Lifang realize that it was already 10 o'clock, and the two old men had already gone to bed. They were very happy because Huo Yingja came back today, which disturbed the old people's rest. "Shuping, let's say goodbye now," Zhang Lifang said, "go to bed early. We have to go to work tomorrow. It's the end of the year and all kinds of things are coming up, which is particularly troublesome." "Yes, then go to bed early," Wang Shuping said, "then don't get up early tomorrow to queue up to buy things with Tian. Let Yingja and Tian go together. They don't go to work, so they can sleep for a while during the day." Zhang Lifang nodded repeatedly and said, "Yes, we were busy in the past, and these two children were the ones who went shopping. Alas, materials were in short supply, so we went late, and the things disappeared in the blink of an eye. but when we got up at 3 or 4 o'clock, we queued up, and it was cold and cold. I'm so tired that I can't go to work during the day. Okay, I'll take Tian shopping tomorrow. You can sleep peacefully and leave the family affairs to the two of us, Huo Yingzhe promised, very happy to have such a good opportunity to be alone together. After the two families agreed, Zhang Lifang took her husband and son home. Huo Yingzhe was behind, shaking He Tianatian's hand where no one else could see it. After the two old people and their parents washed up, He Tian went into the house to rest. He Tian finally washed her face in a hurry and looked up at the woman in the mirror. Her face was rosy, her eyes were charming, and the skin on her face was white and crystal clear, without a trace of wrinkles. The bright red lips showed that she was in good health. This is who I am now. Not that fat, wrinkled, gray-haired old woman. God was not kind to her. She was given a chance to be reborn. She must take advantage of it in this life. No matter what, she has to fight for what she wants. After today's experience, He Tianatian's mood has changed greatly. In the past, she was always worried that her current life would disappear as soon as she woke up, but now she feels real and unparalleled happiness. So what if she returns to the previous life that made her pessimistic and despair tomorrow? She has already earned what she has now. Happiness. Cherish every day now, it was all earned by He Tian. Wang Shuping, He Jingyu and his wife were very happy to see that Huo Yingzhe was more stable than before, and they did not change their daughter due to changes in the environment. That's good, my silly girl won't feel sad anymore. My daughter has grown up and has her own thoughts. Both families are very satisfied with how well behaved they are tonight. Old Man Chi's sharp eyes revealed Huo Yingzhe's extraordinary qualities. But this is just Old Man Chi's guess, everything will be verified later. Grandma Chi-san thought of her son through Huo Yingzhe, and the picture in the fantasy became richer. As for Huo Yingzhe and He Tian, every time their eyes met, it was in her eyes. Girl Huai-chun. It's great to be young. Zhang Lifang and his wife are even more happy. If your son strives for success, your future daughter-in-law will be virtuous. Zhang Lifang even imagined that in the rest of her life she would have a harmonious and happy family, full of children and grandchildren. After Huo Yingzhe washed up, he returned to his room and lay on the hard bed, unable to fall asleep for a long time. Because as soon as he closed his eyes, all he could think about was He Tian. Her bright eyes. Her fair little face. Her bright red and soft lips. What follows is a breathtaking gasp that makes one blush and make one's heart beat. As the pictures passed through his mind one by one, Huo Yingzhe's body also changed. His whole body was hot and his muscles were tense. After torturing Huo Yingzhe several times, he finally got up and went to the bathroom to wash his face to calm down before going back. Extremely exhausted, Huo Yingzhe drifted off to sleep. Yingzhe, get up and go to the supply and marketing cooperative with Tian to buy things. Our tickets, grain, and oil books are still in their original places, Zhang Liping said in front of Huo Yingzhe's door, lest Huo Yingzhe oversleep and let He Tian wait outside. Please vote. I'm just asking for this 1 month, and I'm almost going to vomit myself. After this month, if you ask for votes again, you will be a puppy. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi-Sing Cao. Chapter 174. Chapter 174, Alone in the Morning, Monthly Ticket 1020 Plus. Huo Yingzhe was excited and wanted to be alone with He Tian. Huo Yingzhe got up and quickly put it away so that his family could not see it. He came back during the day and washed it himself. I got dressed, brushed my teeth and washed my face, took my crossbody bag containing various tickets, and went out. He Tian was also ready, dressed warmly, with a hat knitted with black wool on her head, with a big ball made of wool on it, which was soft and very beautiful. It's just that it's dark and Huo Yingzhe can't see clearly. Brother Yingzhe, Drink some hot water to keep yourself warm. He Tian offered her kettle, which was filled with hot water. Not only can you drink it, but you can also warm your hands. Thank you. Huo Yingzhe was indeed a little thirsty, so he took it and drank it for several sips. His whole body felt comfortable, from the inside out. He Tian hugged the kettle and followed Huo Yingzhe. Huo Yingzhe was carrying a large basket in his hand. There were sacks in the basket to hold things later. What are we going to buy today? Huo Yingzhe asked. In the era of material shortages, the Chinese New Year every year was like a war. Sometimes those with money and tickets were left behind, but still couldn't buy anything. He Tian thought for a while and said, "This is not something we can buy if we want, but we can only buy it based on what the supply and marketing cooperative has. Anyway, I brought all the tickets at home and a lot of money. Buy whatever you see, and buy as much as you can. Otherwise, these tickets will be scrapped if they are not used. The Chinese New Year is coming soon, and there are many things to use, so you can always use them when you bring them home." Seeing that He Tian spoke eloquently, Huo Yingzhe was very happy. He touched He Tian's round head with his other hand and accidentally touched the big fur ball on He Tian's woolen hat. He couldn't help laughing and pinched it twice. It's dark now, and even if there are people, they are in a hurry, and no one pays attention to them. Huo Yingzhe took one of He Tian's hands, wrapped the big hand around the small hand, and walked forward together. He Tian was satisfied. The feeling of being held by Huo Yingzhe made her relieve the precious heartbeat and happiness again. The two of them just walked forward on the road, neither fast nor slow. Even if there were some potholes on the road, with their attention, they could always avoid them safely or jump over them. After a while, they arrived at the supply and marketing cooperative near their home, and there was already a long queue outside the door. He Tian took out the food stamps and said, "Brother Yingzhe, these are my family's food stamps and money. You go buy food. If you can buy more, buy more. I'll go to the vegetable section over there and get some more cabbage, radishes, potatoes, and so on." Huo Yingzhe smiled and said, "Okay, I'll line up over there, and you'll be here. When the stuff gets heavy, you can call me to pick it up." Yeah, He Tian responded with a crisp voice and lined up over there with her things. The two are several meters apart, but their eyes often meet unexpectedly. Huo Yingzhe's eyes were always so warm and focused. He Tian felt happy in her heart, but also felt shy. She quickly opened her eyes and her heart beat faster. Previously, He Tian was worried that when she saw Huo Yingzhe again, she would not be able to get along easily with Huo Yingzhe due to decades of experience in her previous life. But when they actually met and hugged her, her rapidly beating heart told her that this was okay. No matter how many years have passed, because of love, that heart will always beat faster for this man. Not long after they lined up, more people lined up behind, waiting for the supply and marketing cooperative to open. At 6 o'clock in the morning, the supply and marketing cooperative opened on time. There was a commotion among the people queuing up at the door. The salesperson inside, holding a paper tube folded into a trumpet shape, shouted, "Line up, line up. Anyone who doesn't line up, don't buy it." Although everyone was very anxious, they all queued up conscientiously in order to buy things as soon as possible. If you don't line up honestly, you will cause trouble, right? In less than 2 minutes, police will come out from the police station not far away to arrest you. With order, the salesperson will be faster. For example, each person can only buy 10 kilograms of rice per day. If there is more, they will not be given, even if they have money and tickets. The same goes for other things. Up to one person can buy 3 staple foods a day. Huo Yingzhe bought 10 caddies of rice, 10 caddies of flour, and 10 caddies of corn flour today. He Tian bought 20 kilograms of cabbage, 10 kilograms of radishes, and 10 kilograms of potatoes, and put them all in sacks and carried them over. Huo Yingzhi saw He Tiantian was a small man carrying a big bag, so he hurried forward to greet him and said, "I asked you to call me, why didn't you call me? It's not heavy, I can carry it easily." He Tiantian smiled, "It's already dawn, let's go back and come back tomorrow." How could Huo Yingzhi let He Tiantian back? Seeing that the sack was not full yet, he put another 10 kilograms of rice and 10 kilograms of flour on his shoulders, and asked He Tiantian to carry 10 kilograms of corn flour. "Actually, you can take more," He Tiantian said. She was very strong, and the weight was not heavy at all in her hands. It's just that she can't explain to Huo Yingzhi why she is so strong. "With me here, how can I make you tired?" Huo Yingzhi smiled, "Just hold that basket and let's go home." Huo Yingzhi was carrying the big sack, and He Tiantian was carrying the basket. Huo Yingzhi turned his head and saw a small, fair face wearing a cute furball hat. Perhaps because of his big movements just now, his small, round earlobes were exposed. Daoshu Lane is 3 miles away from the supply and marketing cooperative. Huo Yingzhi and He Tiantian were walking home carrying their things on their backs. Huo Yingzhi planned to go back today and get a small stroller, which would be more comfortable than carrying it on his back. "Ah!" He Tiantian, around the corner, a woman called out to He Tiantian. He Tiantian turned around and saw that it was Lu Lingli. Lu Lingli saw her a few days ago and acted as if he hadn't seen her before. Why did he take the initiative to say hello to her today? The master who has no profit and cannot afford to go early, what is it about her that he likes? He Tiantian smiled and said, "It turns out to be Sister Lingli, you are coming back too." "Yes, I bought the ticket several days ago and came a little late. When I went to find you, the people in Kijia village said that you had gone home." Lu Lingli replied, "You see, we are from the same place. Wait, when we go back, how about we go back together?" He Tiantian smiled and said, "Let's talk about it then, maybe I have other things to do." After hearing this, Lu Lingli was not angry at all, but became more enthusiastic and said with a smile on her face, "Okay, whatever you want. I'm fine at home, so I'll go and play with you. Actually, I'm quite busy. I have to paste paper boxes every day to support my family. It's just right for you to come and play with me. Help me do it together, so I don't have to be so tired." He Tiantian looked delighted. "Sister Lingli, do you want to must come?" Lu Lingli's face froze when she heard this. What happened to He Tianatian's family? He was so depressed. Just like her family, they made money from paper boxes. The new book Husband, It's Time to Eat is highly recommended. The future husband is a beautiful naughty boy. Now that he is laid out, he will work hard to train him, round him up and flatten him. Please vote. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 175. He Tiantian looked at Lu Lingli's expression and felt secretly happy. You must have been frightened by your hypocrisy. Haha, Tiantian, I have to go shopping too, so I won't delay you. I see that you have a lot of things in your hands. Go home quickly and talk about it later, Lu Lingli said in a fake tone, looking at her from time to time. Looking at Huo Yingzhi, seeing that Huo Yingzhi didn't show any impatience, his smile became even brighter. Humph, you know that Lu Lingli has bad intentions. It turns out that she has a crush on the man next to her. Okay, let's go home first. Sister Lingli will often come to my house to play. He Tiantian smiled and said, not wanting to talk to Lu Lingli anymore, especially when Lu Lingli looked at Huo Yingzhi like a very hungry man. It's like a piece of fat when a wolf sees it for a long time, and this wolf is still wearing sheep's clothing and has bad intentions. He Tiantian walked forward quickly, and Huo Yingzhi followed with her long legs. Lu Lingli from behind looked at He Tiantian and Huo Yingzhe walking together with envy. It would be great if she were He Tiantian. She could be neighbors with Huo Yingzhe, childhood sweethearts, and have a close relationship. But who knows what will happen in the future? I heard that Huo Yingzhe went to the army, and He Tiantian went to the countryside. The two were so far apart, maybe they wouldn't be so close in the future. Distance can produce beauty, but if the distance is too far, there will be cracks. After walking quickly for several hundred meters, Huo Yingzhe felt a little tired and said, "Why are you walking so fast? That woman won't eat you." After hearing this, He Tiantian slowed down, turned around and said with a smile, "I did it on purpose, I didn't want her to peek at you." Huo Yingzhe was stunned for a moment, then smiled, shook his head and laughed, saying, "Why do you think so? I don't like that person." He Tiantian was secretly happy, wrinkled her little nose, and said, "If you don't like that person, then who do you like?" After saying this, He Tiantian wanted to bite her tongue. She even kissed and touched her. In broad daylight, she actually started to be pretentious. As the best actor, he is naturally not an ordinary person, and he knows that this is because of his little daughter's family's awkward thoughts. Huo Yingzhe walked a few steps quickly, walked up to He Tiantian, and whispered in He Tianatian's ear, "Who do you think I have a crush on?" He Tiantian turned her head and glared at Huo Yingzhe. Although her question was a bit pretentious, it would be wrong for Huo Yingzhe not to answer properly. "I'm not a roundworm in your belly, how do I know what you're thinking?" He Tiantian rolled her eyes and curled her lips, looking like a jealous person. It turns out that this is what love is like. Following the person you like, saying the most childish things in the world still feels like sweet words. You are not the roundworm in my belly, but you are the air I breathe. You are everywhere. I can't live without you, Huo Yingzhe blurted out without thinking. If he had heard others say this, Huo Yingzhe would have felt sour and wanted to vomit. But now, Huo Yingzhe is facing the woman he loves. Even if he says more disgusting things, he can say them without any discomfort. He Tiantian was slightly startled after hearing this, and then blushed. It would be great if this was really the case. Although air is very ordinary, it is everywhere and we cannot live without it. That's pretty much it, He Tiantian said arrogantly. Her proud look was exactly the same as the Snake King's arrogant expression in the barrier space when his little plan succeeded. Those who are close to vermilion are red and those who are close to ink are black. This is absolutely true. The Snake King, who woke up from practicing in the barrier, saw the tired look of the two of them and decided to continue practicing. The two returned home together. Wang Shuping had already gone to work, and Grandma Chi-san was making hot meals for He Tiantian and Huo Yingzhe. "Let's eat together this year." Huo Yingzhe took all the things to He Tianatian's house. It was going to be lively during the Chinese New Year. He Tianatian's house was okay, there were two elders, and they only had a family of 3. Huo Yingzhe and his mother Zhang Lifang could still chat a few words. When he was with his father Huo Jekan, apart from asking about work matters, there was nothing else to talk about. "It's so deserted, where can I find He Tianatian's home like this?" "Okay, I heard Aunt Zhang and my mother say the other day that we can eat at our house this year. After all, there is only a wall between us, so we are no different from the same family." He Tiantian said, "I happen to be at home, so I can cook. They can have a hot meal when they go home." "I'll help you," Huo Yingzhe said, "I'll do whatever you ask me to do." He Tiantian was very happy. This was much more interesting than cooking alone. "Okay, let's have breakfast now. After that, we'll take Grandma and Grandpa out for a walk." He Tiantian said, "My dad has borrowed a tricycle to go shopping around." "Okay, I also want to go shopping in Nanxi," Huo Yingzhe said. He had nothing to do at home anyway, and it would be nice to go out and play with everyone. It would be better if he just went out with He Tiantian alone. It's not that he dislikes the two old people, but that the young man wants to date the woman he loves. It's even more inconvenient when other people are present, especially elders. Everyone knows this. After dinner, Huo Yingja washed the pots and dishes, then rode a tricycle with Grandma Chi-san, He Tian, and Old Man Chi behind. Today they went to Nanshi University to visit. Although this school no longer enrolls students, it is still a holy place in the hearts of many people. The quaint door was closed, and only an old man in the reception room was watching. Huo Yingja took out a pack of cigarettes, walked in, and said, "Uncle, are you busy?" The old man at the gate was puzzled as to why there was suddenly a young man here. In the past, there were many children of this age in schools, and they were among the best students in the country. It's just that there are no schools anymore, and all the young people have left here. Hey, it's so deserted. Where are you busy? But this young man gave him a cigarette. If he didn't smoke, it would be useless. Let's see what the boy's purpose was. As an old smoker, the cigarettes in this boy's hands were good ones, but they were not something that a little old man like him, a doorkeeper, could afford. Anyway, there's nothing valuable here, and the old janitor isn't afraid of them causing trouble. There aren't any students. What are you busy with? Said the old gatekeeper. Young man, what are you doing here? Seeing that the old man was very talkative, Huo Yingja did not chase him away, so he smiled and said, "Uncle, this is my distant relative. He lives in Hawaii City, Ontario, which is very far away. I came here this time to see this hotel in our southern city. School. Young man, we have many good places in Nanshi. You can take them to see what you are doing here. They are all dilapidated houses and the gardens are deserted." The old gatekeeper persuaded and said, "If it is just ordinary, it doesn't matter if you know someone, just put it in and play for a while. But if he is a criminal who destroys the contents or does something illegal, he will also be unlucky. Although it is not as chaotic as before, who knows what will happen. People's hearts are separated from each other, so be careful and you won't make a big mistake. It's not easy for him to have this job to make a living at his age, but he can't lose it, otherwise the whole family will be hungry. Please vote." The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi-Sing Cao. Chapter 176. The old man is very cautious, so he needs to waste more words. Huo Yingja saw that the old janitor did not relent, and continued to persuade, "Uncle, look at us old and young, we don't look like bad people. Uncle, you are a good person at first glance, so I will tell you the truth. Grandma Chi's son went to school here on the eve of the founding of the People's Republic of China. After the liberation, there was no news. Later, I heard from fellow villagers that he was dead. In those days of war and chaos, death was very common. It's just that the old man didn't see his son for the last time. I want to visit the school in my lifetime." The old gatekeeper was really pitiful when he saw the old man and the old lady. "Hey, which of their sons is missing?" the gatekeeper asked, feeling pity. Huo Yingja said, "They only have a precious son, and now they are here and they have used all the family's savings to take a look. It's quite pitiful. Just let us go in and take a look." When the old gatekeeper heard this, he felt even more sympathetic to the old couple outside. "It's quite pitiful, but they are outsiders, but I hear your accent should be local. Bring your household registration book and show it to me," the old gatekeeper said. "He can help, but there is no guarantee." Huo Yingja was stunned. Who would bring their household registration book with them when they go out? "Uncle, I don't have my household registration book with me, but I am really a local," Huo Yingja said. "Uncle, smoke, let's just walk near the door and not go inside, okay?" As he spoke, he stuffed a whole pack of cigarettes into the old janitor's pocket. The old janitor had already smoked a cigarette like that, and he was even more greedy. "I wanted to refuse, but I couldn't bear to take it out. Seeing that the old man didn't take it out, Huo Yingja took out $1 from another pocket and said, "Uncle, just think that we are here to visit the scenic spot, and we can buy the tickets, okay?" The old janitor's salary was only 14 yuan a month, and he usually lived a boring life. When he saw the money, his eyes turned red. Seeing Huo Yingja, the little girl outside, and the two old men, nothing should happen. Besides, if these people make trouble, he yells, there are still some people living in the dormitory behind, and they can come and help. Seeing that the old janitor agreed, Huo Yingja thanked him repeatedly and said, "Uncle, thank you very much. We will leave in a while." The old janitor came out and opened the door for them. With a loud bang, the heavy and simple door slowly opened. What you see is not the bustling campus, nor is what you hear is the sound of students reading aloud. There are only messy grasses, howling cold wind, and loneliness. Okay, you guys hang around here. I'm going to check it when you come out. You can't take anything inside, the old gatekeeper warned. Although he also knew that there was nothing valuable here, he still wanted to say a few words like this. Is a good manifestation of his serious work. Yes, yes, let's take a look. We will never take a needle or a thread, nor touch a blade of grass or a tree, old man Chi said with a smile. Huo Yingja spent a lot of time in the reception room just now, and he probably gave it to this old man. Some benefits. The old gatekeeper let him go, and Huo Yingja rode a tricycle, taking He Tian forward with him. Huo Yingja had been to the school several times before and explained it to them, and He Tian followed suit. However, it was full of desolation, and after seeing it, the four of them felt uncomfortable. Grandma Chi-san saw it was noon and said, "Okay, let's go home for dinner." "Okay," He Tian agreed. Old man Chi felt sour. He had been here once before. Even in the worst chaos, when Little Japan occupied Nanji, there were still students and teachers in this school. But now that there is peace, the place where teaching and educating people should be best, and cultivating talents for the country, has become like this. He is a rough man who only knows how to fight. He doesn't know the reason for this and can't figure it out. Although He Tian felt sad, she also knew that things would get better in the future. After a while, she put aside the loneliness she just felt. After returning home, He Tian cooked 4 bowls of ginger soup as usual. After drinking it, He Tian started cooking while Huo Yingja washed the vegetables. Today at noon, He Tian saw that everyone was in a bad mood, so she decided to make something delicious and make dumplings. "I bought flour today, kneaded a piece of dough, put it in a basin, covered the dough with a pot lid, and started chopping the cabbage stuffing. There was pheasant meat at home." He Tian asked Huo Yingja to scrape off the meat with a knife, soak it in water, wait until the meat was loose, chop it into small particles, put it in a pot and stir-fry it, and stir-fry the cabbage. Pour in and stir-fry, no need to add oil, just add some salt, and the 5-spice powder seasoning must be scooped out immediately. He Tian rolled out the dough, and the round dough turned into round pieces in He Tian's hands. Huo Yingja moved the bench and reached for the dough to make dumplings. They were thick in the middle and thin on the edges. He Tian reached out and patted Huo Yingja's hand, and said angrily, "You don't know how to make dumplings, why are you using dumpling wrappers?" Huo Yingja refused to accept it, raised his chin slightly and said, "Why can't I make dumplings? You didn't know how to roll out dough or make dumplings before, how come you can do everything now?" The secret was almost exposed, and Huo Yingja felt guilty. "Then I learned it from others in the countryside," He Tian said. "You also learned how to make dumplings at work." "Yes, of course you can make dumplings," Huo Yingja said. "Maybe not everyone can cook, but they can definitely make dumplings. If you don't make dumplings well, they will be counted and put aside, and whoever can make them will eat them. This way, no matter how clumsy you are, you don't want to just eat dumpling wrappers and dumpling soup. So everyone knows how to make dumplings. Hearing what Huo Yingzhi said, He Tian reluctantly believed Huo Yingzhi's words. Then you pack one and I'll take a look, He Tian said. If it's not good, I'll do it myself. Humph, Huo Yingzhi snorted unhappily. Today I will show you what the most perfect dumplings in history are. Ha ha, He Tian laughed. Okay, little girl, I've seen what you call the most perfect dumplings in history. Huo Yingzhi held the dumpling wrapper in his left hand, and scooped out the filling with a spoon in his right hand. No more, no less. The amount of filling he scooped out was just enough to make one dumpling. The dumpling wrappers are very round, and Huo Yingzhi's dumpling making skills are very good. I saw a cute little dumpling coming out of Huo Yingzhi's hand, with a plump white belly, sitting firmly on the panel. He Tian stared at the cute little dumpling on the table and asked in surprise, Brother Yingzhi, the dumplings you make are so beautiful. Not only does it look good, it's also delicious, Huo Yingzhi said proudly, pointing to the dumplings he made. Do you think this dumpling looks like you? When He Tian heard this, she was so angry that her cheeks puffed up and she asked, How do I look like a dumpling? I looked at my belly unconsciously. Fortunately, my belly was not so big even when I was wearing cotton clothes. Highly recommend Xianqi's Vital Color Medical Fragrance. As the saying goes, tough melons are not sweet. Someone, who said that? I twisted, it was sweet. A certain melon. I'm asking for a monthly ticket. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi-Sing Cao. Chapter 177. Chapter 177 Happy, monthly ticket 1040 plus. Huo Yingzhi was even happier when he saw He Tian like this. He pointed at the chubby dumpling on the table and said, Look, this dumpling is white, like your skin, it has a bulging belly, doesn't it look like your bulging belly now, the bun face? She accepts fair skin, but what is that bun face? Does she have so much flesh on her face? I'm not a bun face, I have no wrinkles on my face, He Tian retorted. You are a bun face, you are a fat bun face. Huo Yingzhi was stunned and immediately understood that He Tian didn't know what bun face meant. Okay, I have a bun face with wrinkles. You have a bun face, okay. The top is smooth and soft. Huo Yingzhi surrendered, stretched out his hand and pinched He Tian's face, leaving 2 marks on it. Flower fingerprints. He Tian didn't move away and was pinched by Huo Yingzhi, turning into a little cat. Not to be outdone, He Tian stretched out her hand to pinch Huo Yingzhi's face, but Huo Yingzhi had long hands and legs, and He Tian couldn't reach him, so she could only jump in anger, to no avail. What are you doing, Grandma Chi-san half smiled, half angry, you're so old, but you're still naughty. This flour is spilled on the ground, what a pity. I'll wash my hands and come over to help you make dumplings. Huo Yingzhi and He Tian were like children who were caught doing bad things, and quickly admitted their mistakes. Let's stop making trouble. Grandma, you come into the house, and the 2 of us will make dumplings. After a while, we can eat them. It's cold in this room. You'd better go to the living room. You really don't want me to help? Grandma Chi-san asked. In fact, she could see the friendship between the 2, but she just couldn't see them wasting food. The 2 of them were chatting and laughing, and she, an old woman, had better go into the house so as not to disturb the 2 of them. Old Man Chi was drinking tea in the room, squinting his eyes, sitting on a chair and listening to the radio. After Grandma Chi-san came in, Old Man Chi said with a smile, My childhood sweetheart. Yes, 2 children are good. If they are married in the future, they will be very happy, Grandma Chi-san said. The families of the 2 families are similar. Maybe the Huo family has a higher family background, but the He family is not bad either. A scholarly family, He Tian's parents are both engaged in scientific research and are highly intellectuals. Childhood sweetheart, Old Man Chi said enviously, if I hadn't killed that bad guy and not joined the army, would you have married me? While they were talking about He Tian Tian and Huo Yingzhe, Old Man Chi suddenly changed the topic and talked about what happened in Kijia village back then. Grandma Chi-san's face was a little embarrassed. Those things were all forgotten by the old man. Why are you bringing them up now? Ah! At your age, don't say such things anymore. Let the past pass, Grandma Chi-san said, not wanting to mention the past. After hearing this, Old Man Chi felt quite helpless. She was the best memory in his heart at that time. When he killed someone and escaped overnight, when he met her on the road, she gave him a few yuan as travel expenses. But this is fine, even though she is old and so is he, it is good to still see them from time to time. Old Man Chi has no more expectations. Grandma Chi-san has been shrewd all her life. She knows everything, but she just doesn't want to say anything. She is no longer young and only thinks about an ordinary life. She doesn't think about being old and making rumors. As long as each other has each other in their hearts, that's fine. Grandma Chi-san just reprimanded He Tian Tian and Huo Yingzhe. Now the two of them don't dare to mess around, and they are rolling out dough and making dumplings. Seeing that there were enough dumplings for 2 people, I quickly gave them to the 2 old people and let them eat first. He Tian Tian, Huo Yingzhe continued to make dumplings until there was enough for the 2 of them to eat. After she was full, He Tian Tian wrapped all the remaining noodles and dumpling fillings and put them on a whole board. Huo Yingzhe took the dumplings outside and covered them with a cloth. The dumplings would not become soft if they were frozen. At night, they could be cooked directly in the pot. After dinner, the 2 old men walked around the yard to eat, then went inside to take a nap. He Tian Tian stretched her waist and said, "You clean up here. I'm a little tired and I'm going to bed. After you clean up, you can go home and take a nap." "You go ahead, I'll clean up here," Huo Yingzhe said, not letting He Tian Tian get tired. He Tian Tian washed her hands, dusted the flour off her body, went back to the house, took a rubber hot water bottle, and put it under the quilt. He Tian Tian closed the door, took off her coat and sweater, and slept in her shirt and underpants. She would have to queue up at the Supply and Marketing Cooperative tomorrow morning. "It's been a tiring day today and I can't hold on any longer in the afternoon." He Tian Tian hugged a warm hot water bottle and slept on a soft bed. Because of exhaustion, he fell asleep after a while, snoring slightly. Over there, Huo Yingzhe packed his things and wanted to come and talk to He Tian Tian. As soon as he opened the door, he saw He Tian Tian sleeping soundly. He subconsciously wanted to close the door and let He Tian Tian sleep well. But when his eyes fell on the bulging ball on the bed, he stopped abruptly. He couldn't bear to leave. By some mistake, he opened the door and came in, sitting next to He Tianatian's bed. Huo Yingzhe smelled the pleasant fragrance in the room, took a few deep breaths, and couldn't help but close his eyes, feeling the scent of the lovely presence in the room. However, after a while, Huo Yingzhe felt that this was not enough. He wanted to touch more, so he turned to look at He Tian Tian, who was sleeping soundly, stretched out his hand, and touched He Tianatian's face. Huo Yingzhe's hand was slightly cold and touched He Tianatian's face, causing the sleeping He Tian Tian to shrink slightly and avoid Huo Yingzhe's touch. "Ha ha," Huo Yingzhe laughed silently and retracted his hand. However, after a while, Huo Yingzhe's hands warmed up and became greedy again, reaching out to touch He Tianatian's face again. This time, He Tian Tian did not avoid it, but gently rubbed Huo Yingzhe's warm hand a few times. Such an unconscious move by He Tian Tian hurt Huo Yingzhe, who was awake. "If you do something wrong to yourself, you will not live." Huo Yingzhe retracted his fingers with difficulty and turned his head to look elsewhere in the room. After hesitating for a moment, he wanted to stand up and walk out, but was reluctant to sit down again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi-Sing Cao. Chapter 178. Huo Yingja didn't go out in the end. Instead, he sat beside He Tianatian's bed, looked at her, and reached out to touch her face. His body felt a little hot and his throat felt a little dry. Huo Yingja knew he couldn't continue and withdrew his hand. He Tiantian couldn't sleep, and fell into a deep sleep, with a few drops of narcotic fluid flowing from the corner of his mouth. Huo Yingja saw it interestingly and took a handkerchief to help He Tiantian wipe it. Suddenly I felt my body startled, I couldn't help but pause, feel it carefully, and couldn't bear to leave. Yesterday, the kiss under the big elm tree made Huo Yingja unforgettable, and at the same time, He Tiantian was intoxicated. Now that she had the opportunity to kiss him wholeheartedly, she was as devoted as Huo Yingja. Maybe because he was lying on his stomach, Huo Yingja felt uncomfortable, so he rolled up He Tiantian with a quilt with a wave of his hand. Except for He Tianatian's 2 arms, which were still outside, the rest was just a large silkworm chrysalis. While Huo Yingja was doing this, He Tiantian looked at Huo Yingja with big, cute eyes. It was this look in his eyes that made Huo Yingja so intoxicated that he hugged the big silkworm chrysalis tightly. It would be great if time could stop. Huo Yingja and He Tiantian thought so. Just when the two were inseparable and their breaths were disordered, the Snake King who was practicing in the barrier woke up and saw such a debauched scene as soon as he woke up. Damn it! What a bastard! If it wakes up any later, its holy blood will be gone. Rogue, get out of here, the Snake King was furious in the space barrier. He straightened his body in anger and was about to rush out of the barrier. But just when the Snake King came into contact with the edge of the barrier, he suddenly encountered a thin film and actually bounced it back. The Snake King sat down at the bottom of the barrier, his 2 small green bean-sized eyes rolling around, looking like stars. It took a while for the Snake King to regain his composure. Impossible. This is the barrier he made himself, how could he block it? Although he can't go out, Snake King can see all the scenes outside. No more, you couple of bitches. The omnipotent Snake King jumped in anger in the enchantment space and kept rushing out, but he was bounced back every time. The Snake King ignored the stars and started calling He Tiantian outside. I tried several spells, but nothing worked. At this moment, the Snake King is about to cry. Oh my God, how could this happen? That wild man who is doing whatever he wants is He Tiantian with whom he is in love? Once He Tiantian loses her virginity, its holy blood will be tainted. Even if he drinks up He Tianatian's blood, he will not be able to succeed in cultivation, let alone tear the cracks and leave here. The Snake King shed 2 lines of tears, you don't do this. Since these spells don't work, it can try the mentally retarded spell it taught He Tiantian before. Guru, Gilu, 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 the Snake King shouted in the enchantment space, his voice was quite sad. Couldn't it be more tragic? He Tiantian is its last hope. He Tiantian, who was lost in love, suddenly heard a familiar voice in her mind. Oh, that was her spell to summon the Snake King. Why did the Snake King use this spell this time? He Tiantian suddenly opened her eyes, and in front of her eyes was Huo Yingja's enlarged handsome face. Seeing He Tiantian like this, Huo Yingja also opened his eyes. Without saying anything, he stretched out his hand to cover He Tianatian's eyes and continued. The Snake King in the barrier is extremely sad and angry. What is the origin of this person? Why couldn't the omnipotent Snake King get out as soon as he appeared? This humble human being is not simple. Gilu gilu me, gilu gilu me. The Snake King's voice became shriller every time, making the listeners shed tears and the smellers shed tears. With this voice in his head, He Tiantian couldn't continue no matter what. When he thought that all this might fall into the eyes of the Snake King, He Tiantian felt embarrassed. She pushed Huo Yingzhe with both hands and turned her head to prevent him from kissing her. Huo Yingzhe was so passionate about kissing her that he couldn't let go, so why was Tian Tian just playing around? Tian Tian left Huo Yingzhe's lips, put her head on Huo Yingzhe's neck, and murmured, we can't continue. Haha, Huo Yingzhe smiled lowly, why can't you continue? You're so bad, Tian Tian slapped Huo Yingzhe's chest, you know how to bully me. The Snake King inside saw the two people outside stopping and felt slightly relieved. Actually, I can love you. Huo Yingzhe was about to kiss Tian Tian. Kiss you, uncle. That is my king's holy blood bank. It was destroyed by you, and I will fight you tooth and nail. The Snake King was just relieved, but he lifted it up and continued, Tian Tian, you can't do this. Tian Tian asked in her heart, Snake King, don't look. Bah. Fortunately I woke up, otherwise, or else. Snake King cried bitterly, like a husband who had successfully caught an adulterer, full of grief and anger, accusing Tian Tian of liking the new and hating the old, act treacherously. What else happened? Tian Tian asked, trying to find out what happened to the Snake King while avoiding Huo Yingzhe's pursuit. You stupid woman, you have holy blood in your body. If your body is broken, defiled by a man, and the blood becomes dirty, it cannot be used. What should I do? You heartless person, I am so good to you, you actually treat me like this, I can't live anymore. The Snake King cried angrily and kept rolling in the barrier. The wild rabbits that were neatly packed before were also thrown everywhere. Seeing Tian Tian like this, Huo Yingzhe put Tianation's arms under the quilt and hugged him tightly. Tian Tian lay obediently in Huo Yingzhe's arms while continuing to talk to the Snake King in her mind. After hearing those accusations from the Snake King, I blushed. What she and Huo Yingzhe did before was seen by the Snake King. It's the last few days, please vote for me. Welfare has been distributed to all groups. Asterisk carat. Carat asterisk, he. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi-Sing Cao. Chapter 179. Tian Tian suddenly remembered that the Snake King had said that her blood was dirty in her previous life. At that time, she thought it was because of her age, or because there were various pesticide residues and hormones in the future, which caused the dirtiness. I didn't expect it to be like this. Only by staying a virgin can you keep your blood clean. No wonder the Snake King was anxious. Tian Tian felt a little sorry. After all, her new life was given by the Snake King. Every time she encountered difficulties, it was the Snake King who helped her. Now the Snake King's only hope lies in her, and Tian Tian cannot let the Snake King down. At worst, when the Snake King succeeds in cultivation and can return to its world, Tian Tian will be with her beloved man again. Okay, I promise you, I won't sleep with Brother Yingzhe until you succeed in your cultivation, is that okay? Tian Tian said, you are my benefactor, I want to repay you and listen to you. When the Snake King heard this, his green bean eyes showed hope, and he said, really? You didn't lie to me. Of course, I won't lie to you, you are my benefactor, Tian Tian promised, in the future, I won't. The Snake King looked at the kind-hearted woman, jumped up from the ground and stood upright in the air of the barrier, saying, I believe you. I've been so good to you, you can't be ungrateful. No, Tian Tian comforted the Snake King, by the way, why can't I see you? The Snake King's green bean eyes turned. It didn't block the barrier. If Tian Tian wanted to see the barrier, she could see it, but now Tian Tian couldn't see inside, she could only hear her talking, and it couldn't go out. What was going on? But now is not the time to think about this. It seems that Tian Tian doesn't know the situation here yet. In order to take more initiative in the future, the Snake King decided not to tell the truth and coaxed Tian Tian, you are doing that thing. I am afraid of getting so I blocked it. He Tian felt much more comfortable when she heard this. Finally, she didn't act out a pornographic scene in front of the Snake King. But she changed her mind and asked again, Snake King, how do you know us? Humph, the Snake King was arrogant, we are of the same blood, of course we can feel it. There are many people at home now, so I don't come out to make it convenient for you. But you are so good, kissing and kissing with a man, and almost losing your virginity. He Tian blushed and said in embarrassment, actually, we won't, we are still young. You won't, but that wild man will. The Snake King began to lose control of his emotions again and began to threaten, if he touches you, I will bite him to death, bite him to death. He Tian's body shuddered and she quickly explained in her heart, no, don't hurt brother Yingzhe, he is a good man. Seeing He Tian taking the bait, the Snake King finally felt more balanced and continued, you don't have to bite him to death, but you must remain a virgin. When I leave here, you can do whatever you want, and no one will care about you. Yeah, I listen to you. He Tian nodded to keep her innocence. The Snake King was satisfied and finally relieved. Suddenly, I had an idea that it is not bad for a woman to be a little stupid and simple. At least it is easy to coax. Huo Yingzhe felt He Tian trembling and thought that He Tian was cold, so he asked with concern, are you cold? He Tian shook her head and said, it's not cold. Just now, she was worried that the Snake King would bite Huo Yingzhe to death. She was scared by the Snake King. Huo Yingzhe kissed He Tian's forehead and said, it's great to have you here. Yeah, He Tian nodded obediently. She felt the same way. If the Snake King was not there, perhaps He Tian would respond more enthusiastically. Now He Tian always felt that the Snake King was watching her, which made her very embarrassed. Just then, the voice of Old Man Chi came from outside, saying, it's snowing outside, it's so cold. Yes, the weather here is colder than our Kijia village, Grandma Chi-san raised her voice. Normally, when talking about the weather, she would not speak so loudly, as if reminding something. He Tian was stunned, and quickly pushed Huo Yingzhe away, saying, you, brother Yingzhe, you should go out. She guessed that the grandmother and grandfather outside probably knew that Huo Yingzhe was in her room, and they were afraid that they would do something shameful due to their youthful vigor, but they were too embarrassed to come in and call Huo Yingzhe out, so they talked loudly in the yard. Huo Yingzhe naturally heard the hint from the elders outside, so he kissed He Tian on the forehead, let go of He Tian, and tidied his clothes. Well, you sleep for a while, I'm going outside, Huo Yingzhe said reluctantly. The girl's room had a sweet smell, which was particularly good, and he didn't want to leave. Bye, He Tian showed a round little head from the quilt and said crisply. After Huo Yingzhe went out, he closed the door for He Tian. Grandpa Chi, Grandma Chi, it's cold outside, let's go in to drink tea and play chess. Huo Yingzhe acted as if nothing had happened, without explaining anything, calm and composed, neither humble nor overbearing. Grandma Chi-san smiled, this child is quite shameless, she will remind the sweet girl in the future, don't let this kid eat you without saying a word. Old Man Chi had a very good impression of Huo Yingzhe. If he had been as thick-skinned as Huo Yingzhe in his early years, he would not have been alone until now. Okay, let's go inside to play chess, Old Man Chi said, and walked into the house first. If it wasn't for reminding this kid, they wouldn't have come out of the house in such a cold weather. He Tian, who was in the house, heard them enter the house, smiled sweetly, reached out to touch her lips, and then touched her chest, and recalled the hot scene just now in her mind. He Tian is not sleepy at all now, but she was nervous just now, and now she is relaxed, feeling inexplicably empty. Seeing that the wild man had left, the Snake King tried to rush out of the enchantment space. The Snake King mobilized all the strength he could use now and rushed up with force. He Tian only saw a thin rope in front of her rushing up to the sky, and with a crash, a hole as big as a wash basin appeared on the roof. As for the shadow, it had already rushed into the air. Because of the great inertia, it couldn't come back for a while. He Tian looked at the hollow roof, from which snowflakes occasionally fell. Snake King, what are you doing? Didn't you agree on this? Why are you angry again and have her roof leaked? I recommend my old books Wine Wife and A Simple Woman. Friends who are short of books can go and have a look. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi-Sing Cao. Chapter 180. Chapter 180 We met our nemesis. 1060 plus. Huo Yingja in the room had just set up the chessboard when he heard the noise from He Tianatian's side. He hurried over and pushed the door in. He saw several broken tiles in front of He Tianatian's bed, and someone who was scared to death. He Tian. Tianbao, are you okay? Huo Yingja asked, walking over quickly. Did it hit you? He Tian shook her head and said, it didn't hit me. Seeing that He Tian was fine, Huo Yingja looked up at the roof this time, then looked at the ground carefully, and asked in confusion, why is there such a big hole in the roof, and the circle is quite regular, as if it looks like something was smashed, but I didn't find anything on the ground. He Tian replied in her heart, actually, it didn't fall from above and hit her, but she rushed out of the house and hasn't come back yet. But He Tian can't say a word of this. The existence of the Snake King is a secret that she cannot tell. For her own sake and for the sake of the Snake King. I don't know either. He Tian pretended to be stupid. Then what should we do now? He Tian stopped sleeping and started to get dressed. Huo Yingja's eyes fell on He Tianatian's delicate face, and he swallowed. Now is not the time. Repair the roof quickly, otherwise the house will be uninhabitable at night. I'll go see if there are any tiles outside. If there are, I'll fix your roof. Huo Yingja reluctantly left and searched in the yard, and found a dozen tiles in the corner. Huo Yingja went out and borrowed a ladder from a neighbor's house, preparing to repair the house himself. He Tian was already dressed, wearing a hat and gloves, and was helping Huo Yingja. Huo Yingja found other materials and climbed to the roof. He Tian stood on the ladder and handed things to Huo Yingja, while Old Man Qi handed the tiles below. Although Huo Yingja's movements were unfamiliar, after careful study, he found the pattern and spent more than 10 minutes repairing the broken areas. When He Tian handed Huo Yingja tiles, he looked at the sky from time to time. It's such a cold day, where is the Snake King going? The roof has been repaired, but the Snake King hasn't come back yet, so He Tian is anxious. Seeing He Tianatian's anxious face, Huo Yingja thought He Tian was worried about his poor skills, so he persuaded him, although I have never learned bricklaying, I have seen others do it, and it has been repaired and it is guaranteed to be waterproof. Oh, that's good. He Tian agreed. She was not worried about the roof. You're a good young man. He lives at home. Old Man Qi said, go and send the ladder back. Yes, Grandpa Qi. Huo Yingja was very happy to be praised by Old Man Qi. Huo Yingja returned the ladder and just entered the house when he heard a crash and another hole the size of a wash basin was broken in the roof. He Tian, who was cleaning up the yard, was startled, put down the things in his hands, and was about to enter the house. Huo Yingja grabbed He Tian and said, your hair is rough, and the roof is not in good shape yet. If you go in like this, what if you hit your head? Can He Tian not be anxious? The sound just now was from the Snake King rushing out. This sound must be from the Snake King coming back. He Tianatian's arm was held tightly by Huo Yingja and she couldn't get in, so she had to follow Huo Yingja. Huo Yingja opened the door first and looked inside. He found that there was another big hole 1 meter away from the original one. It seemed to be a little bigger than the previous hole. This hole is also round, with little snowflakes floating in. What on earth broke the roof? Huo Yingja was curious. He walked into the house and searched again. He Tian was worried that Huo Yingzhe would find the Snake King, so she followed him in. Tianbao, don't come in, Huo Yingzhe said to He Tian behind him. He was worried that if the roof fell again, it would be bad if it hit He Tian's head. How could He Tian have the time to pay attention to this? She came in anyway and looked around, but there was nothing except broken tiles on the ground. This is strange, Huo Yingzhe murmured to himself. How could there be such a big hole in the roof if nothing hit it? Seeing that there was nothing, He Tian was relieved. He probably found a place to hide himself. Since you can't find it, brother Yingzhe, hurry up and borrow a ladder, and we can repair the roof before dark, He Tian urged, so that she would have a good chance to find the Snake King. Huo Yingzhe saw that there were no more broken tiles on the roof, so he went to borrow a ladder again. He just put away the tools and took them out again. As soon as Huo Yingzhe left, He Tian closed the door and shouted softly, Snake King, Snake King. I'm here, came the intermittent voice of the Snake King in the room. It was really unlucky today. It was extremely sure that as long as it was that wild man in his presence, his magic power was completely useless. He was just an ordinary minibus snake instead of a majestic spiritual snake. He Tian was shocked, hurriedly walked to the bed, lifted the quilt, and was stunned. At this time, the Snake King had turned into a slender popsicle with ice on it. He Tian could almost hear the sound of the Snake King's teeth chattering. There was no warmth in the quilt. He Tian was very worried about the Snake King and quickly picked up the Snake King and put it in his clothes. At this time, the Snake King felt a little warmer and opened his little mung bean eyes. Wow wow wow. I want to cry so much. Fortunately, He Tian is a good person. Snake King, what's going on with you? Are you acclimated to the climate here? He Tian asked curiously. It is colder here than in Kijia village, but it's not like this, right? The Snake King is in trouble. What else? You've met your nemesis. The Snake King didn't understand what was going on now. After his body could move, he quickly crawled to He Tian's left ankle and entered the enchantment space before the wild man came back. Stop talking, I'm practicing hard. This is a secret between us. I don't want others to know, so don't tell others about me, the Snake King explained. Before it fully understood it, it can't be exposed. He Tian nodded repeatedly and said, I won't tell. I will keep it strictly confidential. That's good. After the Snake King finished speaking, he blocked out the outside world. He was frozen just now and has not recovered yet. Wait until it recovers and then investigate the wild man. He Tian still wanted to ask, but she could no longer hear the voice of the Snake King. Thinking that the Snake King had been miserable before, He Tian couldn't help but recite a spell to call the Snake King out and ask questions again. At this time, Huo Yingzhe borrowed the ladder again. With previous experience, this time it was faster and it only took 5 minutes to do it. This time, Huo Yingzhe didn't rush down. Instead, he checked other places and found that it was very solid, so he felt relieved. Huo Yingzhe returned the ladder, and He Tian cleaned up the debris. If you think it's exciting, give it a vote. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi-Sing Cao. Chapter 181. When Huo Yingzhe got home, He Jingyu and Wang Shuping also came back. It was strange to hear that the house at home was leaking. Their house was very solid and had never had any problems. Wait for the holiday in 2 days, check the house again, so that the roof will not leak during the new year, which is unlucky. Wang Shuping said that the house is a big deal and cannot be sloppy. There are still elderly people at home now? Okay, I'll remember it. He Jingyu smiled. There are guests at home this year, and the house can't spoil the fun. Everyone came back in the evening and was very happy to see the hot dumplings on the table. They were busy with work before, and even if there was flour at home, they didn't have time to make dumplings, not to mention that this was cabbage and meat stuffing, which He Jingyu, Wang Shuping, and the Huo family praised. He Tiantian and He Jingyu were praised unanimously, asking them to continue to carry forward today's spirit tomorrow. As long as there is something, He Tiantian has a lot of ideas in her mind, and can make simple ingredients into delicious food. This is also a very good skill that He Tiantian learned in her previous life. It is probably only this thing that makes He Tiantian feel a little accomplished. Everyone worked very hard during the day. After dinner and chatting for a while, the Huo family couple prepared to leave. Even if Huo Yingjia didn't want to leave, it was dark, and it was not good to stay here alone. At night, He Tiantian had an extremely erotic dream. At the same time, she felt sweet, but also felt an inexplicable loss. As for Huo Yingjia, he was too stimulated today, and he got up early in the day, so he was a little tired. After getting home and washing up, he went to bed. In his dream, he was also very happy, and he carried out the things that were not done later in the day. When he woke up, he felt some secretions in his crotch again. Even if no one else saw it, Huo Yingjia felt very embarrassed. It's not good to be like this all the time. Sooner or later, he will have a problem. Huo Yingjia smiled bitterly. Alas, it seems that he can't be so intimate with He Tiantian so casually in the future. In the end, he is still uncomfortable. Huo Yingjia has ambitious goals and wants to have more little radishes. Little brother can't be laid off early. The next morning, Huo Yingjia and He Tiantian got up early again and went to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy things. The Chinese New Year is coming soon. If you don't line up early, you won't be able to buy supplies for the Chinese New Year. Huo Yingjia's task today is to buy staple food. He Tianation's task is to buy some side dishes, such as sugar, oil, salt, and the like. As for radishes, potatoes, and cabbage, you will find a queue tomorrow. In the dark night, big hands holding small hands, walking all the way forward. There are more people today. When He Tiantian and Huo Yingjia arrived, there were already dozens of people in front. At 6 o'clock, the supply and marketing cooperative opened on time, and Huo Yingjia joined the rush to buy. In just an hour, Huo Yingjia bought not only rice and flour, but also 10 kilograms of glutinous rice flour. It can be used to make cakes or dumplings. He Tianation's harvest today is not bad. She bought 2 kilograms of sugar, 2 kilograms of salt, and 2 kilograms of oil. There was enough sugar and salt, but not enough oil. He Tiantian decided to continue buying oil tomorrow. Anyway, she still had oil coupons in her hand, so she bought another 2 kilograms. There were many people in the family, and it was the New Year, so she couldn't live without oil. Moreover, if she didn't buy the oil coupons, they would expire during the New Year. Anyway, He Tiantian had enough money now, so she could buy as much as she could. He Tiantian carried a basket with these odds and ends in it, and covered it with a clean old cloth. Huo Yingjia still carried the sack. Today, Huo Yingjia bought it first and waited on the side. He Tiantian bought more things, so it took some time. When He Tiantian came out, she saw Lu Lingli talking to Huo Yingjia not far away. Although Huo Yingjia didn't smile, his expression showed that he was listening carefully. Lu Lingli was very excited, and her mouth kept talking, and no one knew what she was saying. After all, Huo Yingjia was not familiar with her, and he didn't know where Lu Lingli got so much to say. "Sister Lingli, come to my house to play," He Tiantian said with a smile. "I still have a lot of paper boxes at home, I can't finish them all by myself. I heard that you are fast, come and help me." Lu Lingli saw He Tiantian coming, and stopped talking, and smiled awkwardly. "Oh, Tiantian, actually I want to go too, but there is no one at home, and I have to queue up to buy things for the new year, so I won't go to your place to help. Oh, that's a pity. He Tian looked disappointed. Then come and play with me when you are free. Of course, Lu Lingli replied hastily, and left quickly to queue up. He Tian pouted, and then looked at Huo Yingzhe again, but this man had no expression on his face, and it was hard to tell what he was thinking. Huo Yingzhe was a little cold when facing people other than his family, but when he saw her, he always smiled, like a spring breeze. But now He Tian couldn't tell what he was thinking from his face, but she was sure that Huo Yingzhe was angry. Brother Yingzhe, let's go home. He Tian pretended not to see Huo Yingzhe's displeasure and walked to the front. Yeah, Huo Yingzhe agreed and followed behind He Tian, but still didn't speak. He Tian unconsciously slowed down her pace and gradually walked with Huo Yingzhe, secretly looking at Huo Yingzhe. Oh, angry. Brother Yingzhe, what do you want to eat in the morning? He Tian asked. If you have something special you want to eat, I will make it for you myself. Whatever, Huo Yingzhe replied. He Tian pouted. The most difficult thing in the world is to eat whatever. Brother Yingzhe, after breakfast, shall we go to Sun Yat-sen Mausoleum? He Tian asked. It only snowed a little yesterday. There was no snow on the road, only some on the trees. If you go now, it will be beautiful looking at the exquisite silver decoration. Okay, Huo Yingzhe agreed without any unnecessary reaction. He Tian was now extremely sure that Huo Yingzhe was angry, so she stopped talking and just lowered her head. When he got home, Huo Yingzhe put his things in the kitchen, then went to the living room and sat there, smoking a cigarette he got from nowhere. He Tian didn't dare to go up and ask Huo Yingzhe why he was angry. In her impression, Brother Yingzhe is not such an angry person. It was fine when we separated in line, but why did it end like this after shopping? Lu Lingli must have said something to Huo Yingzhe. Hujia village and Qijia village are only a few miles apart, and there are many intermarriages in the two villages. What happened in two villages can be spread in two villages in less than a day. He Tian was arrested twice before, and the villagers of Qijia village went to their work units to ask for an explanation. These are not trivial matters. Everyone knows about them, both adults and children, and Hujia village, which is so close to Qijia village, also knows about it. This Lu Lingli is in Hujiakan, and he probably knows about her. However, after those things happened, He Tian did not tell Huo Yingzhe in the letter that he was in the army and could not come and go at will. If you knew it, you would be anxious. So He Tian didn't want Huo Yingzhe to be distracted, so she didn't tell Huo Yingzhe. 5 updates today. The old time is 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Please vote. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi-Sing Cao. Chapter 182. Last time, if she had not had to go back to Nanshi to issue a certificate, she would not have let her parents know, causing them to worry. Although Huo Yingzhe doesn't have to appear in public, he has to do experiments in the research institute without any carelessness or influence. Once something goes wrong, Huo Yingzhe will be in great danger. Hey, He Tian wants to talk about Qi Jiangguo now, but she is too embarrassed to speak. She couldn't say that there was a pervert in Qijia village who was deliberately trying to possess her. There is also a young man from the city who dislikes her, is jealous of her, and exposes her. Put aside, Huo Yingzhe knew that the mountain was high and the emperor was far away, so he couldn't help. Even if he can help, He Tian has already solved the problem and there is peace for the time being. That Qi Jiangguo is now an honest man with his tail between his legs. At the same time, he is suppressed by Secretary Qi and dare not move. As for Lin Xiru, she has become much more honest since she slapped her twice. She avoids her every time she sees him. He Tiantian didn't know that it was her mentality that made Huo Yingzhe angry, sad, and distressed, but mostly she blamed herself. By the time He Tiantian made breakfast, Grandma Chi-san and Old Man Chi had already gotten up. 4 people, having breakfast together. In front of his elders, Huo Yingzhe was the same as before. He Tiantian turned her face sideways and curled her lips. How could she coax Huo Yingzhe after dinner? After dinner, it was still early, and although the sun was out, it was still very cold. Let's go out together when it gets warmer. Huo Yingzhe and Old Man Chi played chess, Grandma Chi-san twisted the thread, and He Tiantian went to wash the pots and dishes, and made some chrysanthemum glutinous rice cakes. After a while, the fragrant and elegant glutinous rice cake was steamed. Knead the glutinous rice flour with water soaked in chrysanthemums, add some sugar, find a pastry mold at home, and make a plate of more than a dozen pastries with the words "everything goes well" on them. It is better to eat this pastry as it is made. If it is cold and hard, you will feel uncomfortable in your stomach after eating it. He Tiantian brought snacks into the room, and made a cup of tea for everyone, just in time to drink tea and eat snacks at the same time. Haha, how long has it been since you made the pastry? Grandma Chi-san said with a smile. She likes to eat these things the most, they are soft and sweet. He Tiantian smiled and said, not long ago, Brother Yingzhe bought something today, so I made some. Let's try it. He Tiantian distributed snacks to Grandma Chi-san, Old Man Chi, and Huo Yingzhe. Thank you, Huo Yingzhe said, very politely, and did not praise her as usual. He Tiantian felt aggrieved. Now that there were elders around her, it was hard for her to act coquettishly and wipe away her tears. After eating snacks, they started to set off to Sun Yat-sen Mausoleum. This one was farther away, and it was almost noon when they got there. But it's better this way, it's warmer. Old Man Chi can go up the steps by himself, while Grandma Chi-san is carried by Huo Yingzhe. He Tiantian was responsible for explaining. At noon, Huo Yingzhe found a place nearby to eat a little before riding a tricycle to take people home. It was already past 3 in the afternoon when we arrived home. Old Man Chi and Grandma Chi-san drank some ginger soup and sweated a little, so they went to rest in the house. Now only He Tiantian and Huo Yingzhe are left. Brother Yingzhe, don't be angry. Seeing that there was no one around, He Tiantian stepped forward and grabbed Huo Yingzhe's arm and shook it. I hope that by acting like a spoiled child, I can turn this page. Huo Yingzhe had been holding his breath all day, but even with elders present, he couldn't let it out. He was holding it in so much that his heart ached. Huo Yingzhe still didn't speak, but just looked at He Tiantian. He Tiantian saw some helplessness, distress, and even disappointment in Huo Yingzhe's eyes. He Tiantian was anxious, she was too worried about losing Huo Yingzhe, her eyes were filled with tears unconsciously, and she choked and said, I. 2 lines of tears flowed down He Tiantian's cheeks to his chin. Seeing He Tiantian crying, Huo Yingzhe also felt distressed. It was his fault. Even if he was angry with He Tiantian, he could not make her so sad. His sweetheart didn't tell him, just so that it wouldn't affect his work. His sweet baby has been taken care of, which proves that sweet baby is very powerful. He couldn't help Tianbao, and he was still angry afterward. He was angry that he was useless and made Tianbao cry. It was really unreasonable. Huo Yingzhe hugged He Tiantian tightly, feeling sour in his heart, and said in a hoarse voice, Tianbao, protect yourself, wait for me, at most 1 year, I will pick you up and won't let you be alone. Stay in that place. Time. Time. What he needs most now is time. If it weren't for the love between his son and daughter, and he stayed in the laboratory to do experiments now, he might have been able to achieve results earlier. Only by achieving significant results can one be qualified to request the unit to place He Tiantian in a better place. If it doesn't work here in Nanji and Yanjing, then find other places. Huo Yingzhe didn't dare to leave He Tiantian in Nanji. In Qijia village, Tiantian was hated, jealous, and unsafe by so many people. What should we do now? If possible, Huo Yingzhe really wanted to shrink He Tiantian, put it in his pocket, and carry it with him wherever he went. Okay, I'll wait for you, He Tiantian replied. She didn't need to explain so much, because she believed that Huo Yingzhe always kept his word. As long as she held on, Huo Yingzhe would do everything else well. He Tiantian felt a tear drop by her ear, and her brother Yingzhe cried again. After a while, He Tiantian came out of Huo Yingzhe's warm embrace and said, "Brother Yingzhe, actually, don't listen to Lu Lingli's nonsense. In fact, the matter is not as serious as she said." Huo Yingzhe calmed down a little, grabbed He Tiantian's arm with both hands, and said, "If you don't want me to get information from other people, then tell me the truth and don't hide it from me. Even if I can't get information from the institute, come out, but I can figure it out." He Tiantian nodded quickly, like a good baby, and said, "Yeah, I understand, I will tell you if I have something to do in the future. But those are minor things, I can handle them. I told you, you can't get angry. You work well in the institute, and I'm still thinking about you picking me up in the future. Okay, you will be my family from now on." Huo Yingzhe smiled and kissed He Tiantian's smooth forehead. Family members. What a nice title. No matter where he was, He Tiantian knew there would be no peace. However, He Tiantian understands that the only way to get out of trouble is to be strong and become powerful. The protection of others may solve temporary troubles, but it is not permanent. Now she is in Qijia village. She is popular and has strong abilities. She has been praised by everyone. At the same time, she has also helped the villagers. With such a virtuous cycle, it doesn't matter even if there are bastards and bitches like Qi Jiangguo, Qi Shulai and Lin Ziru. Because now she is not just a person, but a model worker with a group of people around her. In the evening, Huo Yingzhe wrote and drew on paper and made some adjustments for the future. After that, Huo Yingzhe went out early and came back late, claiming that he had something to do. He didn't know what he was busy with. He Tiantian asked, but Huo Yingzhe didn't say anything. He Tiantian thought it was a confidential matter at work and did not continue to ask. I recommend the completed novels of my friend Tianqing Dibai, The Good Prince Consort of the Tang Dynasty, Rebirth of the Landscape Family, Heirloom and Double Happiness.